Smarterfan. Smarterfan. Yeah. Smarterfan.
Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Smarterfan Podcast, where we bring you behind the veil of sports, business, and life. I'm Joe, and this is Barry. What's going on, Barry?
Oh, there's a whole lot of cooking going on. How you doing, Joe? How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Just fine.
Good. Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm excited. Got a lot of things to talk about. Lots happening, my friend, in the sports world. Let me step out of the way and let you jump in the water.
Okay, so as everybody knows, Jerry West passed away yesterday at the tender age of 86. And, there's just too much to talk about with him. So I'm just going to give a brief synopsis. Okay. He went to West Virginia University, where he led all scorers in points and rebounds in his junior year. And talk about being tough. He led his team to victory over Kentucky, playing the whole game with a broken nose. All right. So, in his senior year, he had 30 double-doubles and 15 30-point games. I mean, the guy was a prolific scorer. And he co-captained the U.S. men's Olympic team with the Big O in 1960. And they took home the gold. So then... And then that same year, he was drafted by the Lakers just before they moved to L.A. And he helped the Lakers get into the playoffs in 61. And the 62 finals is what started the huge rivalry between the Lakers and the Celtics. And that they battled throughout the 60s with the Lakers always being on the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and West became the only player to win the Finals MVP on a losing team.
That's so amazing. I can't even wrap my head around it.
Oh, I'm telling you, Now, 72, he finally won a championship, and that was just before he retired in 74. And then he went to the front office, and that's where he built the dynasty that would become known as Showtime. I mean, they won 5 championships in the 80s and 3 more in the early 2000s. So he was nicknamed Mr. Clutch, and he went to Memphis. He turned that franchise around. And then he went to Golden State and helped them win 2 championships. So, the man, you can't get any more iconic than being the basketball logo. So, it just doesn't get any better than that. So, rest in peace, Jerry West. So,
Absolutely.
So what's going on in the rest of the sporting world?
Man, Joe, I had a conversation of a very good friend of mine who's a big-time administrator. Mm-hmm. And he shared something that I actually have to split in 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about college sports. And what he says, Barry, we're in the midst of this NIL, the money, the change of the game in college sports. Now the athletes get paid, but people are, as he said, people are not going to really understand that it is literally a totally new game.
Yeah.
And thus being a totally new game, there's 2 earth-shattering things that are happening. The money is going to going to continue to explode,
Mm-hmm.
which means how we see college sports today is going to totally change. Because he
Right.
said this, it's not a very good business model. I said,
Mm.
I said, what? And then I'll save it for part two. So the existing, what we're seeing, the changes that we're seeing is actually more monumental than we can possibly understand.
Mm.
And he gave me the insight being what I just shared. Just like Trevor Lawrence, right? Today signed some crazy contract of
Mm-hmm.
142 million guaranteed, which I'm
Mm.
happy for him. You know how I feel
Damn.
about athletes and money. Get all you can
Mm-hmm.
when you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And someone said to me, a couple conversations I had in the gym, they said, why would a team owner pay that much? I said, the reality is he has no choice. They said, excuse me?
Mm.
He doesn't have any choice. You know how much money the Shield makes?
Mm.
How do you think they're building those billion-dollar stadiums? It's because of the money that they're getting. So
Mm.
even if the quarterback is not where they're hoping he gets there and he's hoping they're winning, he has no choice. They kind of made this decision, making the quarterback what he is, the all and be all. And
Mm-hmm.
and so you don't really have a choice. I mean, think about how easily Daniel Jones got his money from the Giants and what Lamar, two-time MVP, had to go through to get his money. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make any sense, right?
Yeah.
But they really don't have a choice. So anyway,
Mm.
I just wanted to share that. It was just such a fascinating conversation, and the conversations I've had since that I just had to share with the family on Smarterfan.
Well, let me ask you this. How does this settlement with the NCAA, how is that going to figure into all of this with the money you were just talking about?
Well, as this administrator, trustee, bigwig shared with me, he said, well, they're just trying to make a right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And because he and I are close in age, he said, Barry, I'm going to say something to you and you'll get it. When we were kids, we would watch TV, then go out back of the yard with our friends and become our favorite players in our imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then when we got into elementary school and we learned to play and started to play, that followed us to high school, didn't it? I said, absolutely. Then it followed us to college, those of us who could play at the collegiate level with the hope of going pro.
Mm.
Barry, NIL is not something new. It's
Mm.
existed since sport. Name, image,
Mm.
and likeness. It's just an athlete has never been compensated for it.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so you have this watershed moment that the gig is up. They figured out we got all this money that we've been
Mm-hmm.
leveraging, right? So you think about Georgetown and when they were hot, right? Many kids became Georgetown fans. Never heard of Georgetown, never knew it existed in DC, right?
Mm.
And so North Carolina, right? So you grow up. How many of us know of friends whose grandfather, father, and them have giant tickets in
Mm.
perpetuity, like for
Oh
50
yeah.
years?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? Off of their favorite player or players, right? So
Mm.
NIL is also, so he basically said the gig is up. So the money is really just to try to make a wrong right. But this is money
Mm.
that these young people should have been receiving. But because the powers that be were where they were, they didn't. And they
Mm.
funded their retirements and everything else, except for the
Mm.
kids who were paying the ultimate price.
Mm. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of compensation, the Steelers just gave Mike Tomlin a 3-year extension.
Woo-hoo! Go Top.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
He's going into his 18th year. So he's the longest tenured head coach in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
And And Art Rooney II, he stated that, this extension reflects his leadership and his commitment to the Steelers,
Mm-hmm.
And he's only the third Steelers coach since '69.
That's what I was gonna say. That's
Yeah,
just
and
that's their culture.
Yeah, and he's 20 wins away from tying Chuck Noll for being the winningest coach on the Steelers.
Wow.
So,
wow.
yeah. So the Steelers, they have a lot of faith in the man, and rightfully so.
And I'll tell you this: he'll probably win another championship within the next 3 years. They're just in a rebuild. They lost Roethlisberger. They're in a rebuild to find out who's going to, run the helm of the franchise. And they have probably one of the, I hate to say it because I'm a Cowboy, probably one of the best. You can't have a coach like that, that long, in their tenure, unless you have great back office support. They have a system. They're not willy-nillying it. They are very systematic of how they do what they do. And that's why they got all them trophies. I hate to say it, but that's why
Yeah. So so show me the money. Show me the money.
I had to put Coach Prime in here somewhere. I had to do it. Right? So back to what I was talking about before. What the trustee said, Barry, what business model is sustainable with only 20% of the business carrying the other 80%? I said, that's totally unsustainable. No business could operate like that. He says,
right.
You got it. That's why college sports is getting ready to shift, because it's basketball, men's basketball, basketball, football, and women's basketball that brings in 20% of the revenue. But it's supporting 80% of the coaches and track. And nothing wrong with these sports. I love them. Track and field, swimming, tennis, all this other stuff. But there's only 2 sports supporting all 80 of y'all.
Yeah.
That's unsustainable. That's again the reason why they came up with that, trying to pay the make up for that payment from the NCAA. They're trying to create a soft landing, right? Because because all sports started out as recreational, right? And then they found out they could make money from it back in the early 1900s, right?
Yeah.
So he says, once you begin to understand that, and then you had the Newt Rockneys, and it took off, right? And college sports became done, and then you had World War I, World War II, especially World War II, those vets coming back. Then you had that going on in the 40s, right? Then you had 60s really put football on the map, and it took off, right? It became what we see today.
Yeah.
So he said that's the biggest thing that's probably going to really shake people up, because it's an unsustainable model.
Yeah.
With all the money, I got 2 sports basically supporting 80 other sports, tennis, that don't generate enough revenue.
Yeah.
So how do you, again, because now it's not amateur, it's pro. I'm a pro college player. I'm like, I need that money. Yeah, cool. Tennis and whatever. Cool. Let them generate their own revenue. But I need that money because I got to feed mama and my siblings, and I gotta live my lifestyle. Why should what I'm earning, throwing these 3 touchdowns, making 2 sacks in a game, why should I not be confident? You see what I'm saying? And how do you justify it? Because that TV money ain't for tennis. That TV money ain't for swimming and diving. That TV money is for football, basketball, men and women.
Yeah.
Field hockey ain't generating that money. Soccer isn't, right? So they're going to have to figure out if they're going to survive. of how they can generate money on their own to be sustainable. And the unique perspective of my friend is not only he's been on the sports side, but he's in the C-suite with the president of the universities. So they're all looking at the bottom line. This money's got to be paid to these athletes. Where are we getting it from?
Yeah.
So, like, staffing is changing, programming's changing. Probably in the last 2-3 years, he said they've had to lay off like 40 or furlough 30 to 40 people because the money is shifting. So we live in very interesting times, and like Coach Prime said, show me the money.
Yeah. Well,
it must be the money.
So, okay, switching gears here. Boxing. Ricky Hatton and Michael Moorer are getting inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame. They're both champions in 2 weight classes. He had some tough fights against Pacquiao, and Mayweather and Zhu. And he finished 45-3 with 32 knockouts. And his plaque is going to hang 2 away from his hero, Roberto Duran. So, now Michael Moorer, he won the light heavyweight title in just his 12th pro fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then he later moved up to become the first Southpaw heavyweight champion.
Mm-hmm.
And he finished 52-4-1 with 40 knockouts.
Wow.
But Michael Moorer, when I think of him, I always think about him talking about the Foreman fight where he said, I had no reason to listen to my corner because everything I was doing was working. Right up until Big George hit him with that straight right.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on the canvas with his nose bleeding and his eyeballs rolling in the back of his head. So, But anyway, so congratulations to those two for getting into the Hall of Fame. Now,
absolutely.
Yeah, so now Mike Tyson and Paul, their fight was scheduled for the 20th of July, but Tyson had some health issues, so they had to postpone it, and they rescheduled it for November 15th.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's just to make sure that both fighters will be, prepared for the fight totally, And the fight's going to be on a Friday night, and that's because they're still going to have it at AT&T Stadium, but it's going to give the Cowboys Stadium crew time to get the stadium ready because the Cowboys will be coming in to play the Texans that Monday night. So, we'll have to see how that comes off. Now, Manny Pacquiao, he's thinking about fighting having a welterweight title fight with Mario Barrios. Okay. He hasn't fought since 21 when he lost to Jordan Ugas.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he feels that he still has a lot left in the tank. But he's 45.
Mm-hmm.
He tried, he wanted to go into the Olympics, but somebody finally said, no, you're too old.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just, I don't know. It just seems like when you're that age, you would think that it would take a toll on you,
Well, you have to think about it in this light. The science and the medicine is so much better now. The conditioning, you see what I'm saying? The food. Now, there are some limits, like the thing you just said about Tyson and needing more time. Because when you start putting that kind of stress on your body, there's the muscle memory and then your mind, and then getting your mind and your body to reconnect, right? As an older athlete. And it takes more time because your body, your mind and your mind thinks it's 18 again. But your body's like, nah, bro, you got to feed me that's why you see LeBron do what he's doing. But LeBron has been taking care of his body over. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So literally, because this is how crazy this is. This is going to sound crazy. Basically, because of how LeBron has been taking care of his body, he could actually retire for 3 or 4 years and still come back at a high level. He's not going to play 40. He's not going to play 40 minutes, right?
No
But
doubt.
he'll give you a solid 20 minutes. He'll give you a solid 15, and be competitive. All because he took care of his body, right? So those nutrients and all those synapses and all that stuff is he's probably at his age, because my doctor said to me, there's your numerological number age, and then the age of your body. So we were talking, he says probably the way LeBron's been taking care of his body, he probably has more of a body internally of a 28-year-old, which is scary to think about.
Well, speaking of basketball, what's going on with the WNBA?
I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm gonna tell you right now, these young ladies need to realize that unless their front office of the WNBA starts to change, grow up, and understand sports plays on 4 platforms. And I'll just talk about 2 because time is running. You got to learn, if you're going to increase salaries, you got to have a product that you can market.
Yes.
And if someone said, yeah, you're trying to be pure to the game, and that's cool, but you got to understand where you are in your growth, right? Just like you and I can say, hey, without Doctor, the NBA doesn't happen. Without Michael, without Bird and Magic, the league doesn't continue. Without Michael, you see what I'm saying? These pillars, and each way of the pillars, they had to change, they had to morph. Oh, we could become a more global game, right? The same thing I think is happening. The WNBA needs to realize and wake up. Hey guys, if you guys are going to be competitive and global and really grow the money and the exposure, you're going to have to take advantage of the windows of opportunity, right? Like somebody said, and I'm not a fan of Jason Whitlock, but he did make a great point, that the reality is a lot of people really don't want to see ladies with an alternative lifestyle. I don't really care. It's not I can't make any money. People, you know what I'm saying? As an advertiser, it has nothing personal to do with you, because I've always felt like it really doesn't have a place in sports anyway. What 2 consenting adults do in their own time, that's their business. I don't really want to know about that. That's not why I'm a fan of yours or not. It's, you know what I mean? I could care less. You're an adult. You do it. That's what you want to do. You do it. Just, it's no different than, I don't really care if a guy is in basketball or who you're dating. I don't care.
Right. Yeah.
Who cares? I don't care about that. Right. So so that is the dynamic that I think the WNBA is up against. I think they may have some people that they're going to have to move, and if they're going to grow the game, because the reality is there's no reason why Caitlin Clark shouldn't be on the Olympic team. You need the money. You need the global exposure. She can push the game to a global level, and not having there makes no sense. You now have a whole new population of fans that was never into college women's sports, and now college pro sports, and you need to cater and nurture to them. And you have these, what I call, quote unquote, purists that don't understand the business. Because you know what? This new WNBA looks very much like the 90s WNBA, where you had the Cynthia Coopers and the Swoops, and those girls were balling out. And
yes, they were.
And they were winning championships, but the marketing and promotion of those ladies wasn't where it needed to be.
Right, yeah.
And those girls were balling. You hear me?
Oh, yeah.
And so when I look at that model of the 90s and this current model, I said, here's their second chance. Are you going to blow at WNBA or are you going to make it happen? So, my friend, that's all I got for you tonight, Joe. That's all I got for your family.
Well, you said a mouthful.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So, as we say at Smarterfan Podcast, stay in the game. See you next week.
That's right. Have a good night.
Smarterfan.